Hi, Brendan Torpy from AGF Seeds, here to introduce our new winter wheat coming to market in 2025, 222. 222 is a French-bred, horned, red feed winter wheat. 222 is a mid-maturity winter wheat, and by mid-maturity, it is around 12 to 14 days quicker to head emergence than the likes of RGT, a crock, and Big Red, those longer season red feed wheats. 222's proven in both our own trials here at Smeaton as well as external trials in NVT and FAR to have tremendous yield potential as well as a fantastic disease package. From a maturity perspective, like I touched on, around that 12 to 14 days quicker to head emergence versus those longer season red feed wheats such as a crock and Big Red. And compared to the slow spring wheat of Beaufort at a mid-April sowing time here at Smeaton, 222 has been around 8 to 9 days slower to head emergence compared to Beaufort. When sown in the first week of May, so the 6th of May at this location here, 222 was 3 to 4 days later to head emergence than Beaufort. And then at a late sowing time of the 22nd of May here, both Beaufort and 222 time to head emergence very, very similar. So seeing that gap diminish as you're getting later in the sowing program, so 222 later, sort of 8 to 9 days later than Beaufort from an early or mid-April sowing time, whereas becoming closer and closer as we get into that first, second week of May sowing time. So with that maturity, 222 has a much wider sowing window compared to the longer season red feed wheats such as Big Red, Longford and a crock. So we view 222 as a complementary winter wheat to those longer season red wheats in farmers' programs, or an alternative wheat to consider versus slower spring wheats currently in farmers' programs. Another highlight of 222 has been the strength of its genetic disease resistance. Since first observing 222 here at AGF at Smeaton, one or two key standouts has been both its septoria and stripe rust resistance in both high and low fungicide input. And we've also seen those results replicated in the FAR genotype evaluation network variety trials, which have focused on disease observations and yield in both low and high input fungicide strategies. The key strengths we've observed: septoria, stripe rust, powdery mildew have been there has been very little disease differences observed from both high to low input fungicide strategy, which has been represented in the yield data we've seen out of both our own trials and the FAR trials, which I'll touch on in a moment. I'm standing here at our Smeaton trial, and in this replicate we have a one fungicide strategy that we'll look at with 222 here on my left and Beaufort on my right. This has just had a radial fungicide applied at flag leaf in both these plots. If we step back and look within the canopy, you can see from a septoria and stripe rust perspective, very, very little infection even in the lower canopy, and the money leaves up the top with the flag and flag -1 remain very clean, aside from some tipping on the leaf, which is likely to do with plants' genetic resistance fighting stripe rust, which we've seen in a lot of varieties. But as you can see, very, very clean throughout the canopy with the one fungicide of radial at 840 ml per hectare applied at flag leaf. We step over to Beaufort, which has been the benchmark variety in that slow spring space. And if you just peel that canopy apart, just the key observation difference is just the septoria load through the canopy in comparison to the 222. Certainly in the lower leaves, but in the upper, in the flag, we are seeing infection as well, or in that flag -1 and on the flag leaf. Standing here next to 222 again, but in this case, these plots have had no fungicide applied through the season. On my right, you can see 222. So compared to the one fungicide plots we were just observing, you can certainly see a little bit more septoria through the canopy, but only marginally worse, and seeing no stripe rust pressure, through the canopy there. Some leaf rust just showing on the upper leaves, but very, very marginal. So nil fungicide. And if we go over to my left, you can see with Beaufort here under the nil fungicide strategy as well. Again, you just see that septoria from the bottom of the canopy and being prevalent in the flag leaf, predominantly. And there has been a little bit of stripe rust observed here as well, like we saw last year in the nil fungicide plots. But primarily the septoria differences there are quite pronounced. The other exciting point from our observations with 222 has been yield. As a winter wheat, we've seen very high yield potential out of 222. In 2023, at our Smeaton AGF trials, both in the long season trial set, sown mid-April, as well as the main season trial set, sown in the first week of May, 222 was the standout leading candidate in both of those trials, achieving up to 20% higher yield versus other commercial varieties in each of those trials. And what also stood out in those trials was virtually no yield differential from the two fungicide input plots yielded through to the nil fungicide plots yielded. In 2023, in the early season NVT data set sites that 222 was entered into, it was the highest yielding variety in 50% of the trials it was entered into in that NVT early season data set in 23. And then in the FAR Genotype Evaluation Network trials from 2023, we saw 222 the leading candidate in those low fungicide and high fungicide input trials through South Australia, Victoria and New South Wales. And importantly, across that range of environments, in Victoria, where we were seeing around 6 tonne to the hectare yields topping that trial, through to Millicent and New South Wales, where we were seeing 9-10 tonne to the yield environment in those trials, 222 continued to show its yield stability and come to the top, both in high and low fungicide input trials. So really showing some durability there across a range of environments and a range of fungicide input. So yield potential has been extremely exciting with 222. For more information on 222, please contact your local AGF representative.